Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to demonstrate how to put together the Aoyue soldering station, the docking station to hold your soldering iron. Now there's several different versions of this kit. Some may actually come with the brass coil tip cleaner dish. Some may not. Some may have this piece, which is actually for soldering, for the soldering tweezers. And of course, if you didn't order this, you can order this separate if you buy the tweezers later, or if you bought a kit with the tweezers, then it's going to come with this as well. Now when you first get this, it's going to be covered in a blue plastic. You want to take that blue plastic off before installing it, otherwise you will notice it the first time that you take the hot soldering tweezers and touch the side. You'll smell the burning plastic and you'll know that something's burning. But the clue is, it's probably the blue plastic on this thing, so take that off. That way you have a clean piece to install with. And this kit was designed in an ambidextrous way of thinking. The instructions actually show the solder holder being installed on the left side of the station. I'm going to actually install it on the right side to show you it can go either way. So there are holes on both sides. The solder station holder actually are these two screws here, and we had the same two holes over here, and they are the same thread as a matter of fact. And this one here is for the tray to come off the side. So the only difference when switching sides that you want to be careful of is the rubber foot on the solder holder, and I'll show you that here in just a second. Let me go ahead and loosen these screws up. Here we go. So there's a rubber foot on the bottom of the solder holder, and there's 4 rubber feet on the bottom of the main base. So if you're putting it on the right side, you want to make sure the foot is the furthest away from the base. And if you're putting it on the left side, you want to turn it around to make sure the foot is still the furthest away from the base, but facing on the left side. So like I said, either side, completely up to you. So we're going to take our base and we're going to take our solder holder. We'll start with these two pieces here. So with them still loose, what we want to do is set this down in a way to where this is about flush, so your station doesn't rock on you when you're putting the hot iron in and out. And then your roll solder simply goes on the roll here. So that's the main part of it. Now the second decision, of course, is if you have the brass coil tip cleaner, whether you just want to keep the brass tip cleaner here and have the tray over here, or maybe for some reason you would want the tray on this side. It's possible, you could do that if you want to. Or maybe you would want the tray under the soldering iron itself and just keep this loose, just to put wherever as you're working. I prefer to keep this loose actually. I want to rearrange it as I go. So I usually put the tray under here, but for the purpose of this demonstration, to put the tray under here, there's a simple piece, metal bracket here with a hole in it, and you just simply put a screw through the metal bracket on this piece here, line them up, and a screw on one side and a nut on the other side to tighten it down. But like I said, for the purpose of this demonstration, we're actually going to put it over here on the right, because this way we're using all the pieces of hardware that the kit came with. So I can demonstrate how to install any of the kit at this point. So we're going to take one of the black screws that came in the bag, feed it through the L on that third hole over here, like so, and angle it upwards, tighten it down a little bit, and then your tray simply bolts into the outer portion here. And this is using the smaller screw, as I mentioned. It goes through both holes, and we'll put a little nut in the back. Tighten this down. Once you have that tightened down and leveled off, we can tighten the one on the side, and there we have it. And you can stick your station where your soldering tip cleaner. This way you can actually clean it before putting it back into the holder. That's the way I prefer it myself. This is to catch hot solder as it comes off the roll, and it doesn't drip onto your desk or your mat or anything else, and goes in here and cools down right away. Of course, you're supposed to wet the sponge, and the sponge gets a lot bigger than this. It kind of decompresses once you add water to it. So now let's move on to if you have the soldering iron tweezers and how to install that. This is going to be installed right here, and this will come with two bigger nuts, and it looks like mine came with a spare black screw. Put that back in the bag, and it looks like we have a spare nut too, so they do throw some spare parts in here for you, which is nice. Move this out of the way for convenience. And what we're going to do is we're going to loosen up all 4 bolts here. Now these bolts are different lengths, just fair warning. The 2 on the bottom are short, and the 2 on the top are longer. So if you do happen to pull them out too far while you're loosening them, the short ones go on the bottom, the longer ones go on the top. There is a reason for this, and you'll see why here in a second. We'll start by just simply loosening them all up. We don't want to back out the bottom ones, but we do want to give it about a full turn so it's loose. And the top ones will come off completely. We're going to back these out all the way. Okay. Now the tweezer holder is simply going to slide between the front metal plate here and the metal base, the frame itself, and like so. You want the tweezer holder going in between the base and the plate, as I mentioned, but you want it to be facing forward. If you put it in with the majority of the holder facing backwards, your tweezers won't actually go into this bracket to keep them safe and protected from falling out of the holder. So you want them to, the majority of this metal needs to face forward like this, so it's angled, and your tweezers will actually go into the metal bracket here, keeping them secure and preventing them from falling out of the soldering station holder. So now we're going to take the long screw, which is one of the 2 top screws, the 2 long ones that we backed out completely, and we're going to go ahead and put that in the top, making sure it goes through the hole of the tweezer. There's 2 holes on the tweezer holder. I'm going to make sure it goes through those 2 holes. It's pretty easy to align, actually. There's a cutout in the tweezer holder. It's got this little arch here, and this little arch actually goes right over the station, so it's not too hard to align those holes at all. We're going to tighten this up and tighten up our bottoms. Let's give this a little torque. There we go. Now, although these are screws, or these bolts are already threaded into thread cuts on the base itself, as an extra extra protection and an extra precaution as well. They provide you with a couple of nuts with the tweezer holder. And what we're going to do here is, this is the reason it has longer bolts, is we're going to screw these nuts onto the bolts in the back here. And just see if I can get started by hand. Kind of a hard angle for a ratchet or something, but there's plenty of room to get it loosely started. There we go. This is ensuring that these bolts won't work their way loose while holding the weight of the tweezers and keeping the tweezers properly secured while they're hot and cooling down. So these go on the longer screws that you just got done feeding through the front plate and tweezer holders in the base. And you tighten those down and secure those in place. And there you have it. That is the Aurora docking station for your soldering iron. Depending on which kit you bought, it may come with all of this, it may come with only some of this. But no matter which kit you receive, I guarantee these instructions will pretty much cover almost any one that you received anyway. Now the holder is identical to ones that actually have the solder air extraction or a soldering iron without the air extraction. It will fit in place securely without any problems. The tweezers, also, you'll notice the pieces that actually screw down to hold the iron tips in place here. That's what you want to feed into this holder here. And it's going to go in place. Let me take this right out so it doesn't fall. It's going to go in place like so. So I'll back those out real quick so you can see how they fit nice and secure. They're facing at the right angle. They're in this metal case here. So the two tips are completely housed in this metal tip here. And as I mentioned, even if you are using the soldering iron that actually has the smoke extractor on it, I'll take this one here as an example. That fits in there as well. They make pretty much one holder for almost every kit they sell. Or maybe you bought this actually by itself, separately, you know, for an iron you already had. It is a very nice, well-made, heavy metal constructed, very stiff, and you know, as long as you tighten down the screws enough and the bolts, it's not going anywhere. And it has huge rubber feet on the bottom, which is really nice. So it's a pretty simple thing to do, and that's your finished product. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your soldering station.